Welcome back to Rome Total War. Rome, Summer 101 BC. Today, the Senate is in session. Numerous politicians have gathered to discuss the consequences of the Marius reform. The Senate was divided and the discussions dragged on. It seemed as though no agreement was in sight. Meanwhile, the legions in the Persian borderlands were left to fend for themselves, fighting under difficult conditions against the enemy. The session of the Roman Senate was in full swing. The politicians debated the effects of the Marius reform, which had abolished all military structures. Lucius Cornelius Arvina, the consul, believed that the Persian border should be strengthened. He argued that the remaining legions in the Persian borderlands were left on their own and without clear instructions, which was a dangerous situation. In his opinion, this was madness and needed to be addressed urgently. On the other hand, Titus Aemilius Regillus, another politician, believed that the reform also brought benefits. The transition from frontline phalanx to mobile infantry, which could encircle the enemy from both sides, sounded promising. However, Caius Cornelius Rufinus, a senator, warned that there was no time for experimental field trials in war. He reminded those present that the ancestors once led 2 Roman armies into the field, which fought together as one legion. Each of the 2 divisions consisted of 2 sets of 160 legionnaires in 6 rows deep and could thus also be divided in the field. Together, a legion consisted of 5,000 Roman legionnaires. Decimus Aemilius Lepidus, a tribunus militum, agreed with Rufinus and explained that there were reasons why the entire military hierarchy was reorganized. One of these reasons was that there was no book about the legions. At the beginning, the empire consisted of just 1 legion, which was expanded to 2 and then 3 legions during the Polybian reform. Lepidus emphasized that it was important to maintain a clear and organized structure in the military. Manius Aemilius Pappus, another tribunus militum, pointed to the Seleucid War, which had shown that better organization of the military was necessary. The war had also shown that rapid adaptation to new conditions and a more flexible structure were of crucial importance. Attalus Collatinus, the quaestor, recapitulated the Seleucid War. The Senate first sent 2 legions to the north coast of Persia, near Side, to the Seleucid Empire. The 2 legions deployed on the north coast of Persia were an important part of the Roman military strategy. They were to drive a wedge into the interior and take important provinces. This was a step towards gaining control over the region and making life difficult for the Seleucids. During the campaign in Persia, there were some setbacks. One of the Roman generals was still fighting in the borderlands while the other had already returned. However, the legions held out and eventually achieved important successes. It was a tough fight, but the Romans were successful. In the south of Persia, Egypt, the legendary Africanus marched with 2 more legions and about 10,000 men towards the east. But he was old and the desert took its toll on him. He couldn't make progress and died of a heart attack, swallowed up by the desert. The legions were now without their experienced leader and the advance into the interior of the country came to a halt. The desert had taken its toll and the legions never made it into the interior. However, the Roman presence in Persia was not abandoned. 2 more legions were sent to the center of the region, to Damascus and Jerusalem. These legions were tasked with gaining control over the region and making life difficult for the Seleucids. The 10,000 legionnaires did an excellent job and were able to achieve important victories. The Roman military strategy was successful and control over the region was expanded. In addition, another legion was sent as reinforcement, which should have arrived by now. The Roman leadership wanted to ensure that their presence in Persia was strengthened and that they were able to repel any attack by the Seleucids. A large army of 30,000 to 35,000 legionnaires was sent to Persia to stop the Seleucid advance. Now that many legions have returned, it is difficult to say which legion is which. For this reason, the entire command chain must be broken. It is time for a revolution, and it begins with the first legion, the Legio Uno, which serves as an archetype. Gaius Gallicus Caesar entered the room and greeted his generals. He was visibly pleased because today he had an important meeting. This ancient ruling family could trace its roots back to the Stone Age, and one of their ancestors had defeated the Gauls. Since then, the family had guarded a dark secret that only a few knew. Gaius Gallicus, who had been overseeing the Roman Empire for 2 centuries, had his seat in Patavium. From there, they kept watch over the north and the gates of Valhalla. This long-guarded secret was an important part of Roman history. He was sure that the North was in good hands as long as they maintained their vigilance. During the conversation, Caesar also told of his own plans for the Roman Empire. He had big dreams and visions that he wanted to implement. He knew that he relied on the support of his generals and allies to achieve these goals. The history of the Blasio family and their secret, however, remained a fascinating part of Roman history. A secret that the ruling family had guarded for centuries and that still raised many questions. But Caesar knew that as long as the Blasio family watched over the north, the Roman Empire was safe.